Hello, friends, and welcome to the Powerful Podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord. In this podcast, we introduce you to powerful women who are changing the game in and outside of their field of play. These are women's stories, women who happen to be doing things that many of us can only dream of, but the lessons and inspiration they share is universal. Hello, Powerful Pod Squad people. I am so excited for this episode of the Powerful Podcast. We are bringing you women's sports stories from around the world of winter sports. And today we are diving deep into what is going to be a brand new sport in the 2026 Olympics. It is called Skimo, short for ski mountaineering. Gwen Rudy is one of the members of the national team who is working so hard to qualify with Team USA, and she is a badass. She talks us through the injuries that she has had to endure in the last year in order to be ready to compete for this qualifying season. She talks about how hard it is to balance competing and loving a sport that doesn't have a lot of funding while also managing a business that she has worked so hard to grow as an acupuncturist in a small seasonal mountain town. So I'm so excited for y'all to get to know Gwen, get to know Skimo, and oh, by the way, it's a sport that I tried. It did not go well, my friends. This is going to be a situation where you have some laughs at my expense. So you're welcome. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Powerful Podcast. I am so excited to be joined now by Gwen Rudy. She is an acupuncturist in Leadville, Colorado. She is a member of the national Skimo team. If you don't know what Skimo is, do not fret. We are going to get into it because Team USA is working to have some representatives in 2026 when this sport makes its Olympic debut, and Gwen is leading the charge. She's off to a fantastic start this season already. So Gwen, thank you so much for joining us here on the Powerful Podcast.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, okay. So first and foremost, Skimo. It is a sport that not many people in the States know about, and if they do, they probably know it by a different name. So tell me, what is Skimo?
Yeah, so Skimo is essentially backcountry skiing at speed on light gear and a little more groomed and manicured in the race scene. So we have skins that we put on our skis to ascend climbs. We take skins off and descend climbs. So it includes like uphill skiing, downhill skiing, and then all the technical components that requires. So
okay, and it's short for ski mountaineering, right?
Yeah, short for ski mountaineering.
Okay, so basically it's where you have to, like a lot of people understand that if you go to a ski resort, there's lifts that carry you up the mountain so that you avoid walking up said mountain. But you guys are like, I see the lifts. I'm good. I'm going to walk.
Yeah. Some exercise.
Yeah, because, exercise, that it's okay, so we'll just say it up front. So I got a chance to meet Gwen in person in December of 2024, and I was like, hey, I would love to meet you. I'm in Leadville, Colorado, which if you guys don't know, it's like, I think it sits at what, 10,200 feet or something. It's like the highest town in the country. So there's not a lot of air up there, which I'm going to go ahead and blame as the reason why I was like, sure, for our meeting, let's go ahead and I'll try ski mowing firsthand. A few things y'all need to know about me. One, I never back down from a challenge, hence why I decided to say yes. But two, I have not been on skis, period, at all for 15 years. So Gwen, why don't you tell people from the beginning of meeting me in the parking lot just how it went to put me on skis?
You were great. You were fearless. You're like, I'll take the heavy pair.
Oh
I got this.
Because I was terrified of skiing down. Yeah, I was like, first off, we're wearing helmets. And I was terrified of skiing down. I looked like Bambi on ice, y'all. It was bad. But it gave me a great respect.
Yeah, you got a little experience of what the sport requires, but also, to your credit, I forgot to finish your transition for you. And we forgot to put your skis in downhill mode or lock your boots down.
We'll blame that on the reason why I fell no fewer than like 5 times in a 50-yard stretch.
Yeah, but I think by the edge, you were looking smooth, like just carving and turning.
Thank you. We'll put it on the video so that the people can be the judge of how smooth I was looking, because I still felt like at any point I could fall off of these things. And in skiing, there's so many things to keep track of, right? From a snowboarding perspective, it was like, oh, I just have one board. It's attached to my boots, so it can't go anywhere. In skis, let me tell y'all, those things can go everywhere. The poles can go everywhere. Yeah, exactly. You're just like doing splits all the time. But it was important for me to try and understand, like, what is this sport all about? So, and I think the thing that is so fascinating about skimo is how you really, there's like 3 different elements to it, right? There's the uphill, there's the transition, and there's the downhill. So you really have to be good at 3 very like distinct skill sets. Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. How did you get into skiing in general?
Yeah, so I skied as a kid a lot, and then switched to snowboarding later in life. And then I re-entered the sport actually when I moved back to Leadville in 2019. I actually was more training for ultra running. I had run 3 100-mile races. And
casual.
It's just a scene up there. Everybody runs hundreds. If you don't run hundreds, what's wrong with you?
A lot. I have a lot wrong or right with me, because I'm never running a 100-mile race.
You might be the smart one here. But yeah, I, had put years in just like endurance training. And so then when I kind of discovered skimo, I was like, oh, this is like so much fun. Like there's just so much more to the sport than just like running. Like you get to like power uphill, you get the fun adrenaline of going downhill, and then just like the intense focus of the transitions. But yeah, I actually started it through backcountry. Like I didn't actually know how to get into skimo. I kind of figured you needed to go get your Abby, because I didn't know there was like not much of a race scene. And I just wasn't I didn't have the community in it or anything. So I was like, well, I'll get my Abby, get some like hand-me-down gear. And then from there, I like started showing up to races on like really heavy skis, and was like, I'm never spending $4,000 on like skis this fat. And
they're so thin. They're like so thin, they're like an inch and a half wide.
Yeah, but I like kept with it because I was like, wow, this is some like great fitness. Like this is so hard. And then lo and behold, like a year later, I got my first pair of race skis, and then I was like, oh, like I like this.
Turns out the equipment does make a difference.
Yeah, it like you can't not have the right gear and be competitive, because it cuts so much time.
Yeah, so let's talk about being competitive, because you joined the sport in 2019, really, is when you started getting into it ish.
Yeah, or maybe more like 20. Yeah. I mean, I guess I took my Abby more in like 2017, but I was living on the Front Range in Boulder and didn't have much access because I was a full-time student at the time.
Yeah. Tell people what an Abby is for those who don't.
Abby. Know. It's an avalanche safety course. So you go in the backcountry and learn about snowpack and safety conditions. So you know where it's safe to ski in the backcountry.
So for those keeping track at home of the number of jobs that Gwen currently has, right? She has her Abby, which means that she can like go in the backcountry and understand everything about how the snow is working. And then she's an acupuncturist, and she's also on the skimo team. So that's 3 for those who are keeping track at home.
I actually also would be coaching for Ski Club Vail. I was the coach for ski mountaineering last year, but we have no athletes this year.
Okay, so four of you include coach.
But I miss it because I think it's so much fun.
Yeah. Okay, so you get into skimo, we'll say 2019-ish, but the first time in 2026 is when it's making its Olympic debut. Yeah. So break down for us how you have gone, well, I guess first and foremost, break down the disciplines that are going to be happening in 2026 when we watch Milan Cortino.
Okay. Yeah, so I think so the 2 Olympic disciplines are a little more manicured for the Olympic Games. They're not maybe the true like version of ski mountaineering where you're like climbing big peaks, descending couloirs, boot packing to summits. It's all on a more groomed piste or ski run. And so the sprint is like a 3 to 5 minute event. And you take off running up a ski slope. You kind of run through these diamonds that are kind of like obstacles. You do 2 sets of those, get to a boot pack, which in Europe they usually cut these like very nice steps in the snow, but they're
Oh,
really
wow.
hard. It takes a lot of power, like arms, legs to like full send up it. But yeah, anyway, so you get to the first transition zone, you put your skis on a pack, and that transition, anything could go wrong. Like you slide your skis in and you miss your little hoop, boom, like you're in the back.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so you put them through a hoop, put a hook around, take off running up these steps, get to the top of the steps, put your skis back on, take off running or gliding, depends how good your technique is. Get to the top, and then you double rip skins, and then you're gate skiing down. And there's often a jump in there, so you get some air, and then into another gate, and then usually the finish is a really tight turn that almost brings you to a stop. And then so from there you have to have a good Nordic technique where you're then skating with like all energy to the finish.
Wow. And that all happens,
like
3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, it depends on the course and person.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's a little bit like Nordic where every athlete starts with a time trial. So every athlete starts alone with 20-second gaps. You throw down your time, and then from there you get seeded. The top 30 get to move on into heats, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals.
Okay.
Traditionally in the U.S., we haven't we've made it to the quarterfinals, but we haven't made it past that, I don't think. And it's really hard to do this event like potentially 4 times in a row. It's a sprint, but it like takes so much endurance.
Okay, so explain. Okay, so there's a sprint and then there's a relay also, right? Is the second discipline? Okay, so sprint and relay. Break down what a relay is for us.
Yes. So the relay is actually what the U.S. has potential to get a spot in the Olympics, and what our USA Skimo is really like putting all our resources to get there. The relay is a mixed gender relay, so you have a male partner, and you essentially, it's the same thing as the sprint plus an extra loop. So it's a bigger, usually steeper climb that goes outside the sprint course. So just pure fitness, get to the top, ski down, and then you essentially do the sprint course, ski down, and then you tag your male partner in the tag off zone. They take off, and then the challenge is you get like, depending how fast your partner is, like a 7 to 10 minute break, and then you have to do it again. And it's so hard because you've kind of cooled down, you've gotten lactic, and then you're like full power again. It's
right.
So hard.
So unlike in other relays that we would know about, right? Like let's say track in the summer games, you don't just do one leg and you're done. You actually have 2 legs in this relay. You do 1 lap, your partner does a lap, and then you have to go again.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay, so this is a sport that sounds fun. This sounds like so exciting. This sounds like a really, really good time. When did you know that you were hooked on like competing in Skimo?
Well, to be honest, I think like my second year in the sport, I just started to show up to more races and started to do pretty well. And I think that positive like feedback, I was like, oh, I'm kind of good at this. And I actually I wasn't aiming to make the national team per se, but I raced a handful of like races close by, like New Mexico, Colorado, Utah that season. I had 2 podiums at nationals. And then by the end of the season, I was like, wait, if I go get one more result, I'll be on the team. And so I flew all the way to Mammoth, California, got that result, got on the team. And then the next year it got pretty exciting because there was a little more focus on it becoming an Olympic event. And the USOPC actually stepped in and kind of came with us on a trip to Spain and Andorra and Switzerland. And so I think from there it just got a little more serious, and I was like, oh shoot, like I'm actually a top performing athlete, and we might be going to the Olympics. Like, this is so exciting.
Was that ever something that you dreamed about as a kid growing up skiing?
No, I actually was a soccer player, and I wanted to go to the Olympics in soccer so bad. Like, soccer was like my air and my water. But my family moved around a lot, and we left the country before college or like, junior, senior year when it's an important time for collegiate athletes.
Yeah.
So I just never had the chance. But yeah, I think I've always, yeah, I don't know, like I just love the routine of training and sports. It's good for me. I have a lot of energy. And so I think, yeah, before finding Schemo, I kind of took that energy towards ultra running. And
Yeah,
so,
the 3 100-mile ones.
yeah.
I also saw, which I was doing a little bit of research, and so, well, I want to get into your job as well, but first, before we do that, while we talk about you being an elite athlete, I also saw that at one point in time, I'm curious if this record still holds, but in 2023, you had the fastest known time on Strava up and down Mount Elbert in Colorado, which is a 14,000-foot mountain,
Yeah.
and it's 9.7 miles, 4,500 feet of elevation gain. You did it in 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And actually, the funny thing is, like 2 days later, I went in for surgery.
Oh my gosh.
So that summer, I had developed a bursitis on my heel. And so I was in quite a lot of pain. But yeah, it was my birthday. And I was, when you have like birthday mojo, I was like, I'll just go try it. And I actually didn't think I would get the record because it didn't feel like my outright hardest run, but then it just like all kind of clicked. But since then, somebody has taken the record. But once I'm healthy, I might try to go back for it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's talk about your health, because I
Yeah.
know it has been an incredible journey in the last year, and this is a really important season because obviously it is 2025, the Olympics are in 2026, so this is the qualifying season. This is when you guys need to show up and show out to prove that you deserve a spot on
Yeah.
Team USA and that Team USA deserves a spot in the Olympics in Schemo. What has it taken? Because no big deal, you've already gotten 2 second places in the Olympic divisions of Schemo.
Yeah.
So what did it take for you to get ready to perform this season?
Well, do you want to know about my summer?
I would love to know about it. I would love for you to walk me through your summer.
Okay, well, actually, let's back up. So last winter, we were racing in Europe. The OSOP sent a team doctor with us. And on that trip, I discovered I had broken my ankle. And so, yeah, like all she had with her was a tuning fork, which if you put a tuning fork on a broken bone, the vibrations recreate like severe pain. And so you can,
Oh my gosh.
it's a pretty accurate way to like diagnose a bone break without an x-ray. So she did that. And then she saw like all of my residual swelling and like lack of movement. And I was like racing on that, like, this is just the way my ankles are. So basically she kind of laid it out. She was like, I think you broke your ankle. I think you're going to need surgery. Expect this. And at the time I actually had no health insurance and I was like, oh man, this is like such a pain.
Oof.
Like, so did some research, got on some like crappy self-employment health insurance plan. And then got back to the US and then like my last training run before USA Nationals, I tore my ACL, like last workout of the season, of like the week, on my easy training hill that I ski thousands of times a season. I just caught an edge in some powder. I wasn't even, and I think that's the issue. I wasn't like trying to ski down aggressively. It was like, oh, get down so you can get back up, get your workout in. Ripped my ACL off the bone. Went into Stedman, found out, okay, you need ACL repair, you need ankle repair. And then I was like just heartbroken because I was actually ranked last season first or second in all 4 disciplines. I didn't know this, I just found out last season. So I was feeling pretty strong, like up there racing with with the top women in our country. So yeah, this all happened and I was just like, oh shoot, like I feel like there's no way I'm going to have like 2 surgeries. They had to stagger them 3 months apart. So it was like recover, go back under the knife, totally bedridden, like non-weight bearing, and then do it all over again. So that was really hard. I actually had my last surgery mid-June and and it was hard. So I had my ACL repaired first. And that 3 months in between, I worked so hard to get any sort of muscle tone back. just like squeezing your quad, poking it over and over. Like, come on,
Yeah.
quad, fire, fire. And it's so hard to get that back. And then went in for ankle repair and you're non-weight bearing again. So you lose all that progress.
Right.
So yeah, so I kind of
Jeez.
just started, but I stayed pretty focused and like, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to shoot my shot and like see like what I can do, but also still respect the recovery because I'm like, I can't do a knee surgery again. That shit blows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
No, I mean, how do you, my gosh, I mean, how do you balance that as an athlete? Because I think one of the things that's hard, right, about schemo, and I understand USOPC has come in and helped facilitate this, put some resources into it,
yeah,
but it's not one of the most funded sports in winter,
no
Winter Olympics.
funding.
Right. So like how do you balance as a human being, hey, this is a dream of mine to go to the Olympics, to compete in this sport that I really have loved and have become very good at, and also it's a really hard, like I have to fund this dream myself. I have to put this, I have to do all of this. Like how did you as a human being balance that need of like this is my passion and also I got to make ends meet in my job as an acupuncturist
and keep a business
Leadville.
afloat
Right.
in a seasonal mountain town.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How'd you do that?
it's hard. And I'm not gonna lie, like having my surgeries was also a big like smack in the face because not
Yeah.
only am I like, trying to keep my business afloat, save up money to go race, but then it's like, oh, now here's $12,000 to like that you're paying so that you can keep competing. Um, yeah, so I mean honestly, last winter I overworked. I worked myself into the ground. I was running my own business, contracting for another business, coaching on the weekends. I
Mm.
was working like 7 days a week, training every moment in between, traveling to World Cups, making up work when I got back. And so I think that was a valuable lesson of just like, how can I cut back, maybe budget, um, and figure this out. But it's always a little nerve wracking leaving my business behind and just being like, are these bad decisions for my business that
Mm.
I've also worked so hard for?
Yeah, I want to talk about your business. So we've mentioned it a few times, but you're an acupuncturist in Leadville, and I actually have a friend who has gone to you and swears by your acupuncture techniques. How did you get
No.
into acupuncturing?
Um, I so as a kid, my mom took us to acupuncture for our sports injuries, and so it was a familiar modality to me growing up. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, I want to go into health and wellness. I kind of thought I wanted to go into PT. But I think during that time it became a doctorate, and I was like, I don't want to go to that much school.
Yeah.
And then I started doing some research about acupuncture, and I was like, I actually didn't know much about it. Like, I knew what it was, but not like how the system works and what we'd be learning, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just kind of signed up and was like, I'm committed. And it's really fun because not only do we use needles, we also are trained in traditional Chinese medicine, which is like herbal medicine, which is really fun to use. So, formulas to help anything from flus and colds to indigestion to sleep, anxiety, depression. Like Chinese medicine can help with so many different things.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty fun, like we kind of call it, it's like a science, but it's an art within a science because there's a lot of room for freedom and creativity. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
So,
When did you open your business in Leadville?
I opened it March 2020.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Really good timing.
I opened it, literally got my first lease March 2020, got locked into paying business rent, and COVID struck.
Oh my gosh, Gwen.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, can't be worse. So business has been great since.
How did you do? I mean, my gosh, when I think about what you have gone through to pursue your career, your schemo athletic career, to keep your business afloat, what have you drawn from to keep that motivation, to keep that energy, and to fight to keep both of these dreams alive?
I think I have, like, I have a good work ethic. So like when I decide I want to do something, I'll make it happen. And so the business thing is hard because you can't just like there's things you can do to work harder to like grow a successful business, but it also does take like money and resources and like tactic. But I think for me, just persevering through like the low and just, you know, finding a second job, doing what I could, and then still showing up and not being flaky on clients, even though it's like, well, I have one client today. It's definitely not paying my bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm pretty, you know, I think I've had my business for, 5 years now about, and um, sticking it out. It's been good. And I'm really grateful to be able to have like a successful business in a seasonal mountain town. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's something that, Gwen and I actually first connected because I found out about, I was looking into skimo because I was so intrigued by it being an Olympic sport in 2026. And then I saw where you lived, and I used to live in the mountain town next to you. And I was a summer employee as a whitewater rafting guide, just down the road. Yeah. And so it was so fun to see, I know the struggle, I guess, of trying to survive in a mountain town in a season that it's not a 4-season town, and no. Depending on which one you're in, it kind of dictates which season it's the most popular. And so I'm curious how you have sort of incorporated, you said last winter you really went, oh wow, I've gone too far, I don't have enough to give all of these different things that I love. How have you adjusted here in 2024, 2025 to have a better balance and still pay the bills in a mountain town, which is not a cheap place to try and find a way to make rent and to do everything.
Yeah, no, it's hard. I think what didn't serve me last year is my ambition, and so I think cutting back and being like, I'm gonna like work maybe more hours in the summer, and the summer is really good in Leadville. We have the race series happening, we have tons of athletes flooding to town, and I can really make some good money in the summer, as all businesses in Leadville do. And so I think like telling myself like, okay, we're gonna do what we can in the summer, and then try to save as much as we can, and then in the winter like commit to racing. And if I could see my bank account dwindling, like not just like getting scared or just like overdoing it because I'm like, oh shoot, what if I run out of money and my business goes under? But like, just knowing that that's going to happen and I'm taking that risk, because I think it's also like with my job, I'm on my feet all day. And I really learned that in the recovery to my surgery. I had some really good PTs that were like, no, on rest days, like you need to sit, like you're not walking around all day, like sit, eat good meals, drink lots of protein, get a massage, recover, needle yourself. And so I think that was a big eye opener. I was like, I'm doing so much hard work in the training, but I'm not letting myself take a break. And then we live in Leadville at 10 too. Like you don't recover anyways. Like,
you walk outside and you're like, it's ridiculous. If you have never slept or tried to sleep at 10,200 feet, let me tell you.
Well.
No. And like, if your body ever adjusts, it needs weeks to do so. Like it's crazy. I spend so much time at elevation in those mountains, and still every time I come back, I'm like, okay, there's a reason professional sports teams go to Denver to train in altitude training, right? Like we're talking basketball, football teams, because it's harder for your body when there's less oxygen. So everything you're doing has this innate level of difficulty to it that a lot of, maybe more so, certainly more so in winter sports than in summer sports, but a lot of it, there's so much to being a winter sport athlete. And so with that, coming back to sort of the focus of trying to qualify for the Olympics, what does this 2025 season look like for you? What are the benchmarks that you're trying to reach and accomplish, and how can we follow along in this journey?
So actually, because it's heading to the Olympics, ISMF, the International Ski Mountaineering Federation, has done a really good job with like live streaming and media coverage. And I actually have a handful of clients back in Leadville that have started following along, and they are like, this is so exciting to watch. And I was like, oh my God, you're probably the only Americans watching, but thank you.
More after this podcast.
Yes, hopefully. And it's such a fun and exciting sport to watch. But yeah, anyways, the US, the Americas, were kind of behind in general. Like the Europeans are such strong ski mountaineer athletes. They're funded by their, like a lot of them are in the military, funded by their military. They train full time. They're just so good at it. And we're just, kind of catching up as Americans. But anyways, in the reason the mixed gender relay is like our hope for the Olympics is there's a continental spot, meaning we just have to outcompete Canada. Chile used to have a team, I'm not sure. Basically, we have to be the top performing team from North and South America through World Cup rankings this season. And so, just like getting as many of us over to Europe to race World Cups as we can is how we're trying to accomplish this. And, ranking higher than essentially Canada, our biggest competition. Because Canada's got some strong athletes that have been in the sport a little longer than most Americans, I think. So yeah, and it's so hard because all the World Cups are over in Europe, and a lot of us have no funding or sponsorship, or USA Skimo is very limited they're just starting to maybe have a little bit. So it's hard, we're all trying to like juggle leaving jobs, taking weeks off to go race, but also like not cutting it short where you're like, you show up 2 days before an event, like you're not going to perform well when you've just sat on a 15-hour flight. So just trying to set ourselves up to do it well.
So when do these World Cups begin?
So the first one actually already happened in Courchevel, France.
Okay.
I did go to it actually. It was kind of for me a fitness test to see how I felt. The sprint event I didn't feel so strong on. I was still scared racing downhill. I think mostly because I went to PT right beforehand, and my PT watched me hop on one leg and was like, I think you need a little more time.
Okay.
So I went and timidly raced the downhill. But then now it's been another month and we just had USA Nationals, and I was like, I'm back. I'm fearless now. Leg is back.
Awesome.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh. What is that feeling like to compete in a race and go, okay, I feel like my old self again?
I was just so happy. And I think because I didn't know what to expect, I was just like, I'm just going to go shoot my shot. And I don't have many expectations, but I'm going to try as hard as I can. And go for it. I actually listened to Lindsey Vohn's book on my drive out here, and her whole motto, be aggressive. I was like, okay, Gwen, just be a little aggressive on the down and just try to not be scared. And so I showed up and was like, oh, I'm not scared to go down anymore. This is amazing.
That's awesome. So when is the next, what's the World Cup season look like? What are the months? Where are the spots? What are sort of the benchmarks this season where you guys can gauge, okay, we have a chance at the spot in the Olympics, or we need to do better? What are the benchmarks?
I'm not sure if the ranking,
okay.
I think there must be a cumulative ranking, one that I have not seen, but this year we have, I think, 9 World Cups, and then we actually have World Championships, which happen every 2 years. And that's a good benchmark of how countries and teams are performing. But yeah, we have coming up, our team is traveling to Andorra and then Spain. So we're racing in the Pyrenees. And then I believe after that, there's the next World Cup is in Bormio, Italy, which is the Olympic venue, which will be super exciting to get to go race there, whether we make the Olympics or not, just get a little preview for what it will be like. And then after that is World Championships. And then I think 4 more World Cups. So the season ends in April. So it's a long season.
Yeah, so we're really going really hard. February, March, April, rest of January. We're giving it everything we've got as Team USA.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that you wanted people to leave this podcast knowing about you or about Skimo or your connection to this sport, what do you think it would be?
Man. Um, I just like, well, okay, can I say something really cool about the sport?
Yeah.
That I love?
Yes.
So it was derived from World War One or World War Two. Shoot, I should have checked my facts. But basically, it was kind of developed in like time of war, where soldiers would be like skinning up mountains and shooting cans to like it's kind of like how the U.S. has 10th Mountain.
Mm.
Like soldiers, I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a sport derived on like war, a time of war, and so I think it's like a lot of people kind of make fun of it because they're like, you're not really skiing, you're not really mountaineering, like you're not skiing well on those like stupid skis, but like it's such a badass sport at the heart of it, and I just think like it's super exciting to watch and super fun to participate in. Like I think it's similar to Nordic skiing, like low impact on the joints. People of all ages can do it. And I'm like, I'm so glad I found this because I can do it for the rest of my life, I think. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think like for me, right, I have a lot of friends who do backcountry skiing. So I've always heard of like skinning up a mountain on skis. But as a snowboarder, I was like, yeah, until I get a split board, like I'm not going to do that. But there is something really powerful about working your own way up a mountain and then turning around and doing it. And like to be crystal clear, I made it what did we figure, 700 meters or something like that? Like I did not go very tall. It was like
you
up a
more
green
than halfway.
Underneath a lift. Up more than halfway up the baby lift at Ski Cooper, which is a smaller resort in Colorado. So just to be clear, like I wasn't even in sort of the most epic places, but it is a sport where, yes, I think like there's people who are so stoked about competing in it and it's going to be so fun to watch it in the Olympics. And also it is a sport that can take you to places that nobody gets a chance to see. It makes mountain ranges accessible in a way that very few other sports do.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. Cause I feel like, that's actually one of the biggest things about the sport that I love is like you can winter travel like to the most beautiful places, see the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets, all powered by your own two legs, and like you could just end up in the most beautiful landscapes. So it's kind of the best sport.
No bias whatsoever.
No bias.
The other thing I want to talk about, because I'm going to put the video over this and like in our Instagram throughout this, but I want you to talk about how like give me the details of what it means to have a transition in Skimo. So where you go from skinning up to skiing down, what it requires of you as the athlete to do.
Like, what am I actually doing in those steps?
Yeah, because so like describe it for people who don't understand what skinning is. Because like skinning is basically, obviously you're going uphill.
Yeah,
and you have skis.
Yeah, with like, you have skins on the bottom of your skis that are stuck to your skis with a glue. And the skins have like a one-way fur on them, so you can glide up, but they grip if they go backwards. So that's how you climb. But yeah, so a transition is essentially once you're done climbing uphill, you need to take those skins off to go downhill. And so, traditionally people take their skis off. It's a little slower, but when we race, everything stays on, and it takes us less than 5 seconds for this transition. You have to reach down, buckle your boots down, flip your heel piece up or down so that your your boots can lock into the ski, and then you reach to the front of your ski and rip these glued skins off in one foul swoop
while your skis are still on your feet. People. It's incredible to watch. Like if you have not seen this happen, you have to go to the Powerful's Instagram if you are listening to us on Apple, Spotify, wherever, because I have a video of Gwen doing this and it's ridiculous, okay? Because then there's me who I was like, we're gonna take these skis off. I can't even get the skis back on. Like it was absurd, y'all. And she made it look so freaking easy. And I think that's one of the things that I love about talking to athletes like you is like that is obviously a part of your training is to figure out how to do this transition, but then you make it look so freaking easy. And the rest of us are like, oh,
Yeah.
No,
well,
you can't.
Well, if this makes you feel better, we had a training group down in Frisco all summer, and we were like, had our ski gear out on grass. People were like biking by, like, where's the snow? And we're like,
we're practicing.
Yeah. Because this is how dedicated we are to taking our skis on and off.
Yeah, well, it's a huge part of it. It's like you said, you can go from first to last with a bad transition. It's no different than a bad handoff in track and field. Like, this is a critical aspect of the sport.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like when people ask what I do, I'm like, well, we skin up the hill and then we practice taking our skis on and off, and then we go down. And it's like so like not exciting in a way, but like so exciting at the same time.
Oh, if you don't think it's exciting, go to the Instagram. It's very exciting. I'm like, my jaw was on the ground watching you do it. Okay, so I'm so excited, Gwen, to watch you compete in these World Cups, get a chance to feel what that Olympic venue looks like. We are going to be absolutely keeping track as you continue through this 2025 qualifying season. But now it is time to transition on the podcast to the next segment, which is where I ask you, what are you sipping on? It is brought to you by the Sports Bra, which is the first women's sports bar in the entire world. It sits in Portland, Oregon. And so we want to know, Gwen, what are you sipping on these days? What's your favorite cocktail, mocktail?
I think I'm going to have to go with a hot toddy.
Oh my gosh, the ski athlete in you is like, give me a warm drink, please.
A warm drink to open my lungs up. And consider it medicinal.
Lemon and whiskey sounds like a good recipe to me.
Yeah, it warms you up from the inside out.
It really
I actually had one last night after racing.
Yes, as you should. After we bring home a silver medal, absolutely we get a hot toddy.
Yes, we do.
All right, now it is time for our Powered Up segment. These questions are meant to be rapid fire, but we'll see how it goes. So it's just give me your best shot here, Gwen.
Okay.
Okay, first question. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, shoot. I like all the things.
Oh my goodness, I can't pick. Give me top 3.
Like chocolate and caramel and like lots of things in there.
I love it.
Okay.
What is your go-to meal before or after a training session for skimo?
Avocado toast never fails with some sprouts and good salt. Oh, and Kerrygold butter.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love that. That's so good. Yeah. What is the favorite place your sport has taken you?
Oh man. Andorra was a neat country because I actually didn't realize it was a country.
That's so cool.
And it's beautiful. Well, I just like in general also love the Alps. I think sorry, not rapid fire.
That's okay. Keep going.
This season, the very last World Cup is happening in Tromsø, Norway, and I am so excited to go there. I've seen photos of the mountains coming like straight out of the ocean.
That's going to be so cool. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Are you a night owl or an early bird?
Early bird for sure.
Early bird. You got to go see those sunrises and you got to freaking haul your butt up there to get them. So I get that. What is your dream vacation spot?
Ooh. Man, this is like not too exciting, but like, well, no, it is. I still haven't been to Alaska. I like really want to go to Alaska.
That would be incredible.
Maybe like Sitka.
Oh my gosh. We had on season 1, we had Alev Kelter, who is a member of Team USA Rugby on the podcast. And she talked about growing up in Alaska. And 12 out of 10, I'm like, okay, I want to come to Alaska and I want you to show me around because this place sounds incredible.
Yeah, like the animals, the nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She if you have not, you should go back and listen to Alev's podcast because it was like so hilarious, but also if y'all have not listened to it, she talked about a time where literally she thought that a bear was a dog because that's how common bears were in Alaska. So go back and listen to Alev Kelter season 1. It was so good.
Okay, I'll have to.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Okay, and then what is the best piece of advice that you have ever gotten?
Oh, actually, yeah, one that from 6th grade science class, if you're going to do anything, do it well.
I love that. That's sage, lifelong, very applicable advice.
Yeah, it's just good reminder.
What is the wildest mishap you have ever had while ski mowing?
I guess tearing my ACL.
Yeah, I guess on a green. That's not ideal.
On a green at Ski Cooper, which is like seriously like a hill.
If it is in Colorado, no one needs to know. Okay, we're moving on.
Let's not talk about. I know
Let's not talk about that.
My teammate.
Yeah, it's too much trauma.
Well, last night my teammate tore his, and so we were like commiserating on injuries. And I was like, "How'd you tear yours?" And he was like, "I slid like 2,000 feet down an avalanche." And I was like, "Okay."
Oh,
I
yeah.
Okay.
Cool story. Cool story.
Yeah.
Same. Actually, exactly how I tore mine. Weird. Okay. And then Gwen, to wrap things up, this is the Powerful Podcast, and it is such an honor to get to highlight powerful women such as yourself in different sports, competing across the world. So what does powerful mean to you?
Oh, man, I think just like perseverance and like, yeah, just following your dreams and giving it all you got.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
shoot your shot.
It has been shoot your shot. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I am so grateful that you took the time to join us here on the Powerful Podcast. Cannot wait to watch you rock it the rest of the World Cup season, and best of luck. We will be rooting for you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, Pod Squad. We will see you next time on the Powerful Podcast. Thanks for being here. This is a reminder to check us out every Tuesday, everywhere you get your podcasts. And if you really enjoy this and don't want to miss an episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button.